We're actually working at helping people to shift their energy, shift their vibration, to live happier lives.
Hey, everybody. My name is Todd Ronan from the Reality Forecast Show. You're watching the Reality Forecast Show on YouTube, on Buzzsprout, on Twitch, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Dasher, on Donner, on Blitzen.
I just want everyone to feel happier more often.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Drive safely.
How about you?
Today, I want to talk to you about starseeds. Have you heard about this term?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a catch-all phrase that is actually designed to ensnare people and make them think that they're part of a collective. And I think that those collectives are attempting to, bring in people that would otherwise be doing good work for their community, but they're trying to draw them more into an online community. And I think that a lot of those communities are maybe not having the best intentions for the starseeds at hand.
Originally, when I heard about the Starseeds was at a time when the first older generation of Gen Zs were maybe toddlers to teenagers. And what I loved about them, though, is they weren't judgmental. The ones that were these Gen Zs of the older generation, they seemed to be more understanding of millennials and Gen Xers. And they can even communicate with their great grandparents, which would be like the baby boomers or even something older than that. Like when they're born, they had some extra like just more wisdom. It's been a refreshing thing to be around some of these. What we're talking about is like a warning to ones that are identifying themselves or maybe know that they are a starseed, not to get caught up in some dangers.
Yeah, there's a lot of danger out there, particularly if you are a starseed. There are a lot of groups that are pretending to be fronts for collaboration among starseeds. And what I mean when I say starseed is you've incarnated on other planets and other star systems as other beings, and you've come here on Earth at this time, this pivotal point in Earth's history, to be a part of and to be a part of the change that should be happening with the destiny of humanity. And I'll talk a little bit more about the destiny of humanity and what I think that means and why it's in peril shortly. But just be mindful and try to look inside yourself to see if the organizations that you are affirming yourself to are just and are true, or if they're pulling at your heartstrings in a way that causes you to be uncomfortable. A lot of times they'll encroach upon you with bringing emotions out in you to draw you in. And when you're emotional, it's harder for you to discern what's truth from fiction.
Some of the original starseeds can go back. I think Dolores Cannon was saying even as far as the late 60s. That some of the original first starseeds or star children that showed up may have gone back maybe even before that time. She was saying that there's a higher percentage of this new younger generation that's being born.
Dolores Cannon, I think, in a couple of her books talked about that wave of helpers that came to Earth to try to initiate that change. And what happens is, before you're incarnated on Earth proper, you have the best of intentions at hand, and you can be manipulated and side-pulled and hoodwinked, finding your original true path. And that doesn't mean that you're not human. That doesn't mean that you're not an Earth person. Like a lot of starseeds are trying to intimate with their higher evolutionary birth planet or birth star and say, well, I'm this planetary starseed, or I'm that planetary starseed, and we believe in this and we believe in that. And what that does is it muddies the waters, because you're on Earth all now. And what you were before you came here 20, 40, 50,000 years ago is not nearly as important as the work that you should be setting yourself upon to do now. People disparage the gray collective, but there are hundreds and hundreds of different gray species that exist, and most intelligent advanced species that are genetic cloning capable have engineered their own gray blueprint, and so they can build a subservient race of gray clones that they control, which sounds like servitude and slavery to us, and it is, but they don't view it as such. So any gray appropriation that you see doesn't necessarily have its own planetary consciousness or its own sense of identity because it's been grown in a lab. Or
I mean, what if some of us grew ourselves in a lab?
in the future, what you'll see is more people grown in labs. And what that's going to do is it's going to complicate the ability for those humans to be more loving and more kind, just because there's a connection, a pattern that you develop when you're growing inside the mother's womb. And so they're going to create this artificence probably within the next 3 to 7 years. As people have more problems, it will be easier to grow your child in a lab. It will be less intrusive to the mother to grow your child in a lab than have it grown by in utero. And what that's going to do is those kids are going to be so devoid of that human connection as they're grown that they won't understand how to be human. They won't understand what it means to have a human connection, and they're going to be more dissociated, and they're going to be more, and this is 40, 50 years out that we're seeing with remote viewing, what that culture looks like and what that identity as a human looks like.
But if you're inside a plastic, I don't know, what do you call it? An incubating type
of plastic amniotic sac, or I don't know what they'll call it.
Yeah, those people would feel more comfortable inside a cubicle. Maybe that's what they're doing. It's like, I feel better sitting inside alone in a cubicle all by myself, you know, because that's what I grew up with. Didn't have anyone close to me at the time. And now I'm just stuck here doing the grind. I was just going to say, I feel much better. I think it feels much better to be with people that are your family and that you're connecting with, you know.
Well, that part, let's talk a little bit more about that. That part, that sense of family, that sense of togetherness is really a genetic memory that we share.
Do you think that some of these planned births, you know, nowadays, I was shocked at the statistics of people that are having a C-section. I mean, it's an overwhelming majority of people that they schedule it, but they're pulling the child out and it doesn't go through the canal, which has all the good bacteria that you get coated with that helps with your immune system.
There are higher powers on Earth, and there are ET agencies on Earth that are working with other agencies, I guess. ETs can look like you and me. They can look like your neighbor down the street. So if somebody seems off to you, maybe they're an alien, but I'm not saying they're an alien, but it's possible. We're all really based on the Lyrian model of humanoid, and 65, 70% of ETs that you encounter out there, once you leave the solar system, well, once you leave Earth, they're actually in the solar system too, but you'll find a lot of these ETs that you would mistake them for your neighbor. They don't look foreign. They don't look strange. They look pretty much like anyone you would normally meet if you're traveling in Europe somewhere. So they can use spectrometers to find out what your soul index is. And a lot of times you'll find the people that are approached and asked to join a certain agency, maybe they're asking you to join that agency or that collective group because they're trying to take you away from the starseed that you have been identified as being born with. So there are people that know what starseed origin you have, and they can identify that with technology.
One is, what's their motive and why are they doing this, basically? And the second one is, we know that we have our memories erased when we're here, but how is it that they are able to not have their mind, or are they also feeling some sort of cognitive loss of their ability to recall who they are? Because they're in close proximity to us here on Earth, are they not also affected by the memory wipe?
No.
How is it that they're not affected?
Well, it's species by species. We'd have to attack each one individually, but most, I would say, Lyrian humanoid species are able to remember back 4, 5, 6 lifetimes ago as to what they were, and they recognize their family units as they existed. They live a lot longer too, so you're looking at 300 to 750 Earth years, and that goes back, you're looking at that timeline, it goes back 4 or 5,000 years, and that seems to be the general memory of what it is people can recall that are not Earth humanoids, and other different variations. They're not affected by it when they come into this sort of index, because they don't have an Earth humanoid soul. And the degaussing process, as if you will, that happens when Earth humanoids are reborn, is they go through a sort of cleansing. You remember things before you were born, but then once you're born, it's kind of like waking up. It's kind of like a dream world. So I've had that discussion recently with people, seeming like my dream world is way better than the real world that I'm waking up to. Why don't I just stay asleep? Because in my dream world, I was married to Carly Rae Jepsen, and now I'm awake and she's not here anymore. But they don't suffer those consequences because they don't have an Earth soul. They don't have an Earth soul index. And so if you, as a human, let's say Daniel leaves Earth, and let's say you go to Mars and you die on Mars, if you're reborn in 30, 40, 50 years on Mars, I don't know, as a remote viewer, if you're going to remember your previous lives. I think that you will, because I think that the Earth is the grid that makes us forget. And so by shifting our birth cycle, or by shifting our birth energy to a whole new planet, it's a whole new moon, actually, but Mars was a moon of a planet that got blown up. You see the remnants of it in our solar system, but shifting your energy and your birth energy to that new planet, that moon, I wonder if it won't make you remember more.
Yeah, especially, yeah. Moldek was a badass planet, though. And I think that you and I got to help out a lot before they destroyed that.
So there are reasons for abduction processes that happen. We're totally off track now, but I think we were originally talking about something else. But you brought me into
Well, we're talking
aliens.
about the star seeds.
Aliens.
We're talking about the star seeds and how, but we're trying to figure out why are they doing this to the star seeds? Why are they trying to manipulate and control them? And the question is like, why, if they, the star seeds, do they have their memories? Because we know that the aliens that are manipulating are not, I mean, they have their memories.
Well, a couple of answers to that. When you're abducted by an extraterrestrial agency, they have the ability to wipe your short-term memory. And so they can take you away, they can experiment on you, and you have agreed to do these experimentations before you were born. So a lot of times you are agreeing to go with the people that you were born with, or that or they're within your soul family or your starseed family, and you're just giving them like a report as to what the toxicology report is on Earth. And they'll identify that based on looking at your blood, your skin, your hair, your nails. These are things that you've agreed upon before you came here. And then you forget because you're mind wiped when you come to the Earth plane. So you signed a contract to come to Earth, friend, and you agreed to be abducted by those Greys, those ET agencies, and you just forgot. And if it's really upsetting you, you can revoke those contracts, but that's going to have consequences down the road for you if you revoke those contracts, because then you're stuck on the Earth plane, and then you become abandoned by the Starseed family, which originally put you here. So your original question, hiking a long way around the barn, is what's the agenda of people that are trying to disrupt the Starseeds platform and the Starseeds agenda? That's a numerous, multifaceted answer and a multi-pronged question, but I'll try to answer it summarily by saying one of the goals is the end of humanity as you know it. And the end of humanity as you know it has been identified for a long time by multiple ETs. So there are people on Earth that are happy with that idea. They don't want to see the human race continue. The Starseeds, the other ET agencies, who see that as kind of the disruption and the end result of humanity. Humanity's actually going to be good for the Earth, and it's going to be good for the rest of the solar system, and it's going to be good for the rest of the galaxy, because we had a unique experience here on Earth, and we've been having it for the last maybe 40,000 years. we're going to help cultivate, we're going to help grow the galaxy in ways that they can't consider. So the negative factions, we'll call them the dark forces, want to stop humanity's growth. And the positive forces that are putting starseeds into Earth and making them grow are doing so that their progeny, their long-term, children or children's children's children will have had the experience of being on Earth, and that will make them more multicultural. That will make them less homogeneous. I think it's going to be beneficial in the long run for humanity, the culture of the Milky Way galaxy in the long run.
Yeah. Is there any positive things about the other ETs that are, I mean, obviously they have a motive of some sort, they don't want humanity to have an overpopulation or whatever. I mean, it still is an interesting question to think about is, what if they're right? It flips at a certain point that you realize that the side that you think that you're doing it for the right reason, next thing you know, you realize you're on the wrong side. So, but that could be another show.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more to talk about. I have a lot of other ideas. I want to talk about the Matrix, how the Matrix works, how to make it work for you. We can talk more about ETs. We can talk more about different ET agendas specifically. So if you're interested in those type of topics, let me know. I'm always happy to talk about it. It's a topic that I know very, very well, and my theories have evolved on it based on remote viewing. And so I've learned more about the agendas and the different agencies and how they're working together, how they're working against each other. And I'd like to talk about that if we're afforded that opportunity. And if you guys are interested in it, we'd love to tell you more.
I'm interested in hearing more about learning about the Federation of Planets. There are rules of engagement that ETs are not allowed to do.
That doesn't mean that they always follow those rules.
That we're under that jurisdiction, but they're good people though, right?
They're not Earth people. It was actually a sort of a treaty to try to protect themselves against the nefarious influence of dark draconian alliances. There are hundreds of species of grays covering different planets and different star systems and different quadrants. We can also talk more later about how they come here and about the technology involved. I know a lot about that I've never shared publicly because it's all in my remote viewing data, and those things just sit in my file cabinet. So I'm willing to share it all, let you guys know how to build your own starships next time. No, we won't.
This is an awesome podcast, Ronan. This is going to be great. There's going to be so many awesome episodes coming up. So if you're into this, Ronan's got a lot to share.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We're going to go off the deep end in spring. We're going to launch into the world that we have never talked about. And I'm excited about turning that page from the darkness chapter of the year into the lightness chapter of the year. I'm going to illuminate that which has been dark.
So let's raise our vibrations as we learn some amazing things. This is awesome.
Thanks very much.
So, by the way, until then, where can they find you, Ronan?
Here, there, everywhere. www.realityforecast.com. Check out Eventbrite. If you can look for April 2023 spoon bending, I'll post a link for that, and join us April Fool's Day so you can bend some forks and spoons. And if you're just my next reality forecast / temporal awareness perception and viewing course, it'll be 6 weeks. It's coming up on April 11th. That's when it begins. It's every Tuesday, Thursday night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it's 24 hours. A bargain at $5.95. You're going to learn all stages of remote viewing, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you'll get practice and ongoing remote viewing targets to do once you're done.
And you can also find me at ultimaterealitysurfing.com. That's www.ultimaterealitysurfing.com. Daniel Laxton's. And I also have the Ultimate Reality Surfing podcast where Ronan is always on my show too. But the main focus of that is reality creation. If you love law of attraction and you want to increase your abilities and learn deeper ideas and concepts in law of attraction, then Ultimate Reality Surfing is going to be a podcast to listen to for you. Be sure to smash the like button and be sure to share this podcast with your awesome friends that are like us.
We'll see you next time. We love you very much. One of the goals is the end of humanity.
Remote viewing is a psychic ability. It allows individuals to gather information about a distant or unseen target by using their mind. Anyone can tap into their innate ability. Tap remote viewing only at Reality Forecast. Reality Forecast.